Hello and welcome to the space. Yes, hello and welcome to the space between ideas. Wow, it's just chilling, man. Let me just share this whole screen so we can get started. Also, I'm not really sure. I don't think I'm on the right page for checking to see if this is actually running and to see if the sound. Okay, the sound works. Now, what happened was, like I was talking about last time, I needed some kind of master prompt. So I've completed the cursor master prompt and I've finished the windsurf master prompt. What happened was I went outside, I walked around, came back, took a nap, and then of course I have to do the master prompt again. Now this time what I did was I asked Cursor. I said, "Hey, can you compare the prompt that I created to this one? Hi Cursor, I've just restarted my computer and have manually ensured Docker is running. Please get my full development environment and guidance. Please perform each of the following steps." What did it actually? Anyway, so it's going to compare. It compares the master prompt from before. It gave some feedback. My previous prompt, the conclusion. Your prompt is already excellent and very thorough for ensuring the core development environment, Swift-based backend, Next.js front end is up and ready for you to start working. Hits all the critical checkpoints. Is there anything critical missing to start working? Minor considerations. So it goes through, and then I just like copied that, and then I pasted into Gemini, and then Gemini said, "All right, we can make some little teeny tiny changes here, there, everywhere." And then now I got this one. I got this is the final cursor master prompt, and then I went to Windsurf. Basically, did the same thing. So then I told Windsurf, I said, "Hey, Windsurf, what up?" I said, "Run the requests." And then provide an enhanced prompt if needed for the future when I start you up. So then I printed that out into Windsurf, and then it provided some feedback, and it actually did. It made some kind of like here it is, Windsurf Cascade Project Bootstrap prompt. Please ensure the Windsurf project here is doing this. Then I pasted that back into Gemini, and then Gemini gave me the final master. Here it is. So it's so we refined the ultimate master startup and run prompt for Cursor. Then we updated the Windsurf Cascade master startup and run prompt, and then successfully used the master startup and configure check prompt with Cursor, and it's fully operational. Then we successfully used the master check prompt with Windsurf, and also confirmed operational. So that's all good. And then now it's like, hey, well, okay, so now it's time to install Jest. I have no idea what Jest is, but anyway, so what we're going to do is we're just going to plain text request Cursor AI. So we're going to pop that into Cursor, and it should just work, right? Now, the fun thing about this software development is actually you can't see it, but on this side over here, I guess I could just click it, right? So over here, we got this. Oh, here it is. So we got all this. We got all these. Okay, that's. I guess we don't need that. Okay, so we have all these. This code that's being written, and I'm not even looking at that. I don't have that window even open. I just so that's it's being edited all the time. But for me, that's jibber jabber. I have no idea what it's talking about, and I don't care to read it. I mean, what's the point? There's no point in me reading any of that because I'm not actually. So I'm the project manager. Now, okay, we got a problem here because when I paste this, you can see that the first thing is okay. I will now install. So you see, this is the problem with cursors. It doesn't have everything. It doesn't. I mean, my biggest problem is just being able to copy and paste. I mean, that's the one thing I wish that Cursor and Windsurf could improve is how much of the text do I want to copy? And you know what would be even better is like if there was some connection, if I could just connect my Gemini Advanced directly to my cursor. So what's going on over here? So just another copy and paste. So why am I doing this like copy and paste back and forth? What's the point? Like there should just be a button, and instead of being copy and paste, I should just click this button. It will send it directly over the cursor and then run it. That's what I need. Well, the concept of empathy is exactly what would enable the kind of direct interaction you're envisioning. Its widespread implementation and the availability of MC server within Cursor that I could securely connect from this chat environment is not something that is standard or generally available today with this type of external API. The embedded within Cursor might use MC, similar inertial mechanism to ID specifications. Some IDs offer APIs to parties, an extension or plugin. For me to directly control, do I need to do this while some AI integrate like I'm going to ask the same question of cursor and windsurf and also paste your reply. Then provide I'll I'll give you their feedback. In the meantime, here is the cursor reply. Okay, so what we're going to do next is I'm going to say I asked my, what do we call it, my developer assistant, developer AI assistant, this question. Here is the response. Could you reply with your feedback and also if you think there is some way to connect you directly to Google Gemini or another AI coding assistant. Now I want to do this for both. All right, what does it want? Okay, since you've proceeded with the prompts. Okay, this is excellent. You also mentioned this pending item. Just reminder, before this Jest setup in Cursor, we're still waiting for output from Windsurf. Immediate steps for Cursor. I'm supposed to. Windsurf said Cursor said You see, so windsurf allows you to copy inside of those boxes sometimes. Not always, though, it seems, but generally. All right, so I was actually I was hoping this would slow down because there's another topic I wanted to talk about, and it's a little bit crazy, and it has to do with more. It has to do with reality than. Yeah, you see how paste the plain text into Cursor's AI chat. See how I copied it, and I don't think it actually had finished typing everything. Anyways, I'm gonna pop that into Cursor, and then what does it want? So paste the text into Cursor, reply with Cursor's confirmation. All right, so yeah, so it's going to be installing something. I guess maybe we have a little bit of time. Now, the thing I've been thinking about a lot is in the last little bit is this idea here with Slack. You see how Slack it enables you to connect directly with Notion and ClickUp and Asana. And the question is like what actually is being shown when Slack is being used here? Like I've never used Slack, so I don't know how that thing actually works. I mean, I think I've used it once or something like 5, 6 years ago. And I mean, I use WhatsApp and I know how to use Messenger, but I've always just communicated with my coachees directly. So it's like there's a platform that I use in order to get coaching clients. So that's why you could say that I don't really know how to do marketing because I have somebody that does the marketing for me. And I have somebody who handles the payments for me, and I have somebody who handles the scheduling software for me. I have somebody who does all of this, and the only thing that I do is the only thing I do is show up. There's I have a public calendar. My public calendar is available for the public, and then after the public sees my calendar, then they can book a time, and then after they book a time, uh, well, actually, they have to pay before they can book. So after they've paid, it's all automatic. They do it all on their side, and then they book a time, and then I check my calendar every day, and then it'll show when I have a, a coaching client, and then I show up at the time, and the software actually it has um, a place where I put my profile. It's just like any of those other, like if you go to Fiverr or if you go to Upwork, any of these freelancing platforms, it's like almost identical. I would say it's even more robust. It has everything that you possibly could need. The only thing I have to do in reality is I just look at my calendar and then I show up. They have a like a they have the software inside of the system for for with the video conferencing tool, and they have a bunch of AI tools inside of the video conferencing tool. It can provide all kinds of things for the coaching client on the other end, and I don't have to do anything. And then after the session is finished, the coaching client will um, confirm on the other end. They have a robust customer service platform. You can talk to a customer service agent whenever there's an issue. I'll give you an example. So last week there was a Korean guy who's living in Canada, and he said, "Hey, I saw your profile, and it's wonderful, and I want to talk to you." And I said, "Great." So I sent whenever I get a message that somebody booked a time with me, I have a welcome message, and then I send them some welcome message details, and it provides them with well, mainly it provides them. It's called game pieces. I send them a document called game pieces. All right, so the game pieces, it says, okay, answer the following questions. What is a thinking tool and what is a thinking technique? And then here's a table of themes to talk about. So then sometimes we look at the SWOT analysis. And I have like a really nice, I like my SWOT analysis document. It's really, really simple. And we take a look at this. We say, okay, so it's made up of this, and then here's a bunch of questions to help us, and here's a bunch of categories, and here's a bunch of questions and categories, questions, categories, questions, categories. It gives people a really nice, a robust way of understanding the SWOT analysis with these. So I could even upload this to Gemini and get a really good, um, really robust set of answers, because your your Google Gemini reply is only ever going to be as good as the the calibrating that you do. And so my calibration with this tool, it has so many questions. What makes your company unique? What does your company do well? Which areas are most successful in? What resources do you have that gives you an advantage to others? And then it goes through capabilities, competitive advantage, resources, experience, financial, blah blah blah. So you could have like a prompt like, okay, so based on the four different areas of SWOT analysis, create where what are we waiting on? Um, so create a step-by-step process of asking me a series of questions that will touch on all of these areas. So it could probably create around 50 to 100 questions, and then we're going to answer those questions one by one. We're going to upload all of our answers, and once that's done, then we want you to analyze all of our answers, and then I can plug it back into my tool and then use the brainstorming methodology in order to help us to discover which projects and objectives are most profitable for us to pursue right now. So yeah, we could easily do that. And then once we've done that, then it'll tell us what we need to start working on. So anyway, so we have that conversation. It's usually just because I have to help them understand that a presentation tool helps you to present information, while a thinking tool helps you to categorize and understand data and make decisions. All right. So then, okay, so what aspect of your job could benefit from thinking tools and techniques? And then how have you selected methods and tools in the past? And then what are some future opportunities that you might like to take advantage of? And how do you keep up to date with managerial and project management training? Okay, so this is kind of connected with some of the stuff that actually Tom, he asked me to add this as a kind of the beginning of this course. Like, you can do better by thinking better, and thinking better means using thinking tools and techniques. All right, so let's repeat that again. You can do better by thinking better, and thinking better means using thinking tools and techniques. Now, I've done a lot of thinking recently, and this all goes back to um, Tom's state drive model. The state drive model really helps you to hone in on this concept of your level of effort and your level of success are basically the only two things you got going for you. And you could say that this is kind of like the concept of any race car, like or any competitive endeavor. Any competitive endeavor that you're going to be engaged in is going to have like some amount of gas. This is the fuel. This is the actual amount of fuel that you have in your car. It propels you forward. And then this is the quality of the technology that you're using to drive. This includes the car and also the driver. So if we talk about competency and methods and skills and knowledge, so this got me thinking about some really weird concepts. So if we think about, I mean, this is going to sound really weird, but you remember that guy Wavo? What's his name? Wavo Swami. Who's that guy? Wavo Swami. I think his name. He ran for Republican Party. Vivek Ramaswamy. There it is. This guy. So I remember listening to this guy talk, and the thing is, when you listen to him talk, what you recognize is that he has a really big context window. Now, I remember when I started using computers and I tried to explain it to somebody, I said, well, a computer is basically two things. It's like a memory. So it has a working memory. It means like the things that it has saved in its programs. And then it has this other thing called computational ability. So then its ability to run those programs. And that was my basic understanding of computers and the internet. The computer is just a internet, and computers just a mass amount of data and then some software that helps you to run those programs. And now with AI, as we start to understand AI, then it helps us to kind of like have a slightly different perspective on what it means to be human and what it means to solve problems and what does it mean to think. And so when you listen to Vivek Ramaswamy, what you realize is he has a huge context window. Well, what do you mean by a huge context window? I mean that when he's talking, he can simultaneously access and remember um, a huge amount of data. And now, when we're talking about AI coding tools, they keep talking about context window, and it's that like, what's the difference between old people and young people? Old people, they don't necessarily run the same programs. They're not running the same experiments as young people. They're running very different experiments, and because probably they already ran like a huge amount of experiments, and then and they got some kind of some results, and then now they're using those results and they're going like higher and higher in their processes. They're solving all kinds of different types of problems. So we could say that like Vivek Ramaswamy, we could say that the problems that he is trying to solve right now are not the same problems that he was trying to solve a year ago. And he used his experiences and his context window and his ability to run programs, and eventually he got his current job. Was that the actual job that he was trying to get? Who knows? It seemed like he was trying to become president, and I'm not sure that he had the same level of competency as Trump. Obviously, he didn't have the same level of competency. He had he had he had competency in some areas, but he was also missing competency in other areas. And how do I know that? Because he didn't win. So obviously, the winner is the person who had the right type of competency in the right types of areas in order to in order to finish first. So what are we talking about? So if we go back to this concept, Trump had a higher level of success. Did Trump put in more or less effort? I don't know. Now, the other thing about Trump is that he has this, he's very high in dominance hierarchy. So it could be that he put in less effort personally, maybe personally Ramaswamy had to put in a higher level of effort, but it was because Trump had the ability to connect with more, way more people than and his team was bigger. His team had more competence. His team had more resources. His team had more, and so AI really is changing the way that I'm thinking about things. But in general, I would say that the way I think about things is that you have to maintain some level of effort, but then you have to, like a car, as you start to, it's like you get a higher and higher, you're getting faster and faster and faster and faster until you get to that competing, and then you have to somehow pass that responsibility to somebody else. So then you go back into this laid back area where you're starting a new area that you haven't worked on before. What do I mean? So we can go back down to Tom's work when it comes to state styles. So you have this area called start and stop. And start and stop is a very, very important area because what it's telling you to do is, all right, so it sounds like it needs to, I don't need to answer this question. Whenever it asks me to answer a question, then I just jump over to the architect, and then the architect can answer the question. All right, so what happens is, like, so the things that Ramaswamy is trying to solve right now, or maybe not now, but when he was running for president, there were some areas of his life he had to stop, and other areas he had to start. And it's also the same as what's going on with Windsurf and Cursor. So what's happening is I'm starting certain types of software development, and then at like what we're doing is we're trying to figure out how to get that set up within these software environments. And then sometimes, like right now, it's asking for some kind of, it's like, okay, do you want to do process one or process two? And then eventually it's going to make that decision. Now, once it makes that decision, now we're going to go up to procedural. So that element's going to be procedural. Once it's procedural, then we're going to stop our active work on it, and then we're going to start the active work on the next problem. Now, also, we can define another issue, which is like, okay, so we're getting two outcomes with one process. I don't really know how to explain that right now. Anyways, the point is that you can do better by thinking better, and thinking better means using thinking tools and techniques. So I'm constantly using thinking tools and techniques to explain what we're doing. You might already be using or considering different kinds of thinking tools and techniques. And what are we talking about? What's the basic subject that I'm talking about? The basic subject is that all these apps, they have like, look, they have all these different integrations. They integrate with all kinds of tools, but the result is the same in general for this specific type of tool. When we talk about Asana, or if we talk about ClickUp, it all kind of looks the same. It looks like it's all about creating some kind of to-do list. And if all we're doing is creating a to-do list, well, yeah, I mean, I already have that to-do list also. That's the scoreboard. And yes, that's obviously going to tell us when we've completed our objective. And once we've completed all our objectives, then it's going to complete the vision for the project. And once we've completed the project, we can start and stop. We can begin the next project. Now, given that I don't necessarily want to specialize in the design of scoreboards, and there's already a ton of different types of scoreboards. There, you see, I didn't have to make a single decision. They made all the decisions for me. And my assumption is that their context window and their ability to do this type of work is far, far beyond what I'm able to do. But at the same time, I think that they're missing some ability to just keep the project on the right path, which I think is weird. So this little teeny tiny thing that I'm now doing, where I have this agent and I have this agent and I have this agent, I have three. I'm doing a 3 agent process, and then in order to make sure that they don't mess up, I have to create like a backup set of instructions to calibrate those agents. I have to do that all manually, which I think is weird. But anyways, so it just means that our ability to have AI to solve all of our coding needs is not very strong right now. I mean, it's strong to the point where I have no software development ability, and I was able to create these couple of different agents based on what? Based on, well, okay, so we're talking about thinking tools. So in this course, this is what Tom says. He says this course offers perspective regarding a variety of thinking tools and techniques that can help you do better when doing work, selecting and getting more value out of value from other tools, extending and integrating tools, developing yourself and your staff so you can capture future opportunities. And what's the issue? The issue is that, yeah, like, okay, so maybe you have a to-do list software, but the Tom's work is what's going to help you do is to figure out what is actually going to go on that to-do list. Now, given that's the case, then, well, look, so Asana connect over 300 integrations. I need to have, like, I need to start, like, I could start with Asana specifically. I could start with Asana, and I could say to Asana, okay, so can you make me like an image of like what types of integrations are there? Like, say we have integrations that produce lists of things that you should do. All right. So what is the current, what is it called? That word. What's the current landscape of all the different types of tools that help me to make decisions about what are the items that should go onto our to-do list? Because those are the companies that I'm competing with. And then I need to look at their software and look at all their things that they're doing, and then figure out which of those ones have some tool which is to some extent similar to what Tom is doing within his work, is his cursor, and then talk to them and say, hey, look, I've been doing research for I've been focused on this topic for 10 years. I'm super focused, and I've readily enjoyed my experience being a coach and with a new type of coaching technique, and I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people. And through that process, maybe the first couple of people weren't as satisfied as maybe the last couple of people, but I mean that's just reality. But now we have, we have some kind of result. We have some kind of piece of software. And then look, I've been working on this software. You can see the entire process. I made YouTube videos that show exactly how I built the software. It shows all the methodology. It shows much of the things that I've been discussing over the last couple of years. And this is what your current software looks like. And this is how I think that you should change your software. And once it changes that software, then you're going to be able to, it's already, see, I want a piece of software which is already plugged in to all these to-do lists. I mean, yeah, it's true. I could do it myself and create this software, which what it needs to do is it needs to create some kind of package, an information package. That information package is going to go into the to-do list websites, and it's going to populate the to-do list websites. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a little piece of software. Managers, they have discussions. Looks like something's happening here. They have discussions with their team, or they have discussions with their team with the aid of artificial intelligence. And the result is that they have a list of tasks. And then it sends a package over into their task management software. Their task management software populates based on the brainstorming experiences that they had. And there you go. That's it. Now, the thing that I'm starting to think is that if everyone's using Slack, like, is it everyone using Slack? It sounds like the more people I talk to, the more people I think are using Slack. So if everyone's using Slack, then do I really need to plug them into the to-do list software? Maybe. But then also, um, can I just create a Slack integration so that people, based on what they're already discussing in their Slack community, maybe my little plugin is going to give them like some. What if the thing that I'm creating is actually a bot that joins their Slack meeting? Manual task. Why do I got to do a manual task? Jeez. All right. So it's having some problems. Oh, wow. What's this? I guess something's happening. I wonder if it's going to ask me to do the same thing now with windsurf. What is it want? Is it asking me to back up to update the README file? All right. I don't know what I was talking about. Anyway, so we use these thinking tools, and now the other topic I was talking about was basically I don't know. I don't think it even has. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, I'm trying to explain the first steps that people make when I start talking to them. The first thing that I want them to understand is something about a corporate menu. That every single company is based on these three roles. You have people who make decisions. You have people that are basing their decision making processes on thinking frameworks and data analysis. And then you have those thinking frameworks and data analysis basing their thinking on what's actually happening in the business. And then the things which are happening in the business are basically people using tools, people creating paper, and people managing and organizing that paper. So the analyst goes in and they look at the way the paper is being managed. They look at the contents of that paper, and they look at the people that are using tools and what they're actually doing when they're using those tools. And then with that data, then they provide some kind of analysis for managers in order for managers to make decisions. After they make decisions, then they go and they talk to their coach, and they try to create systems, and they put those systems and they try to run those systems within their business. So if you're working with Slack, it would be helpful if on your Slack team you had somebody who was this data analyst. And what does a data analyst do? What does a coach do? So if you had somebody who could be a coach and an analyst. So what I'm actually focusing mostly on with these thinking tools, it's mostly the coaching role, because it doesn't necessarily. I think there's a wide, robust set of tools that analysts are going to use in order to figure out what's going on within their company. And then it's actually the coaching tool. Maybe the coaching tool could also be upward facing toward the manager, and then also downward facing toward the rest of the staff. But inside of your Slack, there we go. That's what I'm trying to get. I just want the prompt. All I really want to do is just copy and paste. So if I could get like a coach, so if I could add somebody into the conversation, which is like the coach, and it's an integration into the Slack, and then because Slack is already integrating into all of these different to-do list tools. So there's a couple of things that I'm trying to think of. It's like, okay, so I need to understand all the different integrations within these to-do list applications, and what are the function of those integrations. Then I need to figure out what is the integration that I'm providing specifically with this coaching methodology. And then I need to figure out what are the different coaching methodology integration tools that are already connected with all of these different tools, and then make a decision about, okay, so should I make an actual tool? And then, well, okay, so maybe there's like a set of tools that already do the exact same thing that I'm talking about. Maybe they do it exactly the same way. Maybe they do it differently. If they do it exactly the same way with the same methodology, like somebody already did the project which I'm now doing, then it's game over. So then my whole program stops, or at least this aspect of the program, because there's two other, at least two other sections of this application that I can continue to build. For example, like just now, I was just explaining the state styles uh, document, and the state styles document is in Tom's work is talking about like is talking about the process of value chain. Now, when we're talking about the process value chain, you're going to get a different answer, right? So maybe the answers that you get based on, let's say that you use the brainstorming um, module, and then that brainstorming module gives you a set of objectives. And now I have a set of objectives and a set of tasks. Now, those set of objectives and those set of tasks, it may be based on the idea that you are currently an ant, that you have a very high level of effort, but you have a very low level of success. And then we're trying to change something within our organizations in order to help us to become more competitive. Or okay, but maybe you are actually a bumblebee. Maybe your organization is extremely competitive, and what you want to do is you want to shift down. You want to be able to maintain that same level of success, but start to go down in the level of effort. And so we need to inform, using the methodology of the process value chain, we need to understand exactly where is your organization right now and where would you like to be. Is it still printing this? Which means what? Your action. Which means that although the five modules, which I've really been focused on, and I'm trying to help people understand, I'm not necessarily focusing on teaching people these modules exactly. I'm really focused on producing a piece of software that can help people in order to develop the skill of using these five different thinking modules. Once they develop those five basic thinking modules, and if there's some other kind of software that already is helping people to develop that thinking, right? Because I was talking about, well, what happens if actually somebody already created exactly the same kind of software with the exact same kind of methodology? And so there's already a piece of software that managers are using in order to help them to create objectives, in order to finish objectives, in order to brainstorm about how to create new objectives if they can't figure out what they should be doing. And then I go through all of the different types of software which are connecting with these to-do list apps, and maybe even already Slack. And then it's like, oh, this thing already exists. Okay, then we go one layer deeper. Okay, so now does that current piece of software also have the concept of Thomas's Thomas Buchholz's drive model? And so does that include the concept of performance evaluation? So if we look at the two ideas of, in Tom's book, it's called state drive and state styles. So state drive, it talks about um, how well are they doing the work, the level of effort, and the level of success. Then the state styles, it talks about, okay, so what is your there's six work styles. We can identify the specific type of work. Is this okay? These questions, they're only talking about the current and the target. So we have the current level of effort, current level of success. Then we have the target level of effort and the target level of success. Now that can change. You might actually be shifting down in your level of effort. Now, if we're shifting down in the level of effort, that means that the work style is going to reflect that. Did I already paste this? What the heck is this? Okay, so it's just instructions. So what's actually going on? The thing that actually is going on is that AI can now do the thing that I want the software to be able to do. It's based on it's based on having a huge context window. Now, since Gemini has this huge context window, currently I've only fed Gemini the 5 modules, and it's helping us to work through these modules. Now, after I know that it can work through these modules because I'm in the testing phase right now, and I'm using Gemini in the testing phase. For example, I was just talking to somebody. She's doing digital marketing, and she has a customer meeting coming up, and so we use the modules in order to help her think about how she can prepare for the first meeting with her potential customer, and also to think through how she can present some ideas for this customer in order for them to do their marketing. And it produces a series of questions. Now, I could also ask Gemini. I could say, okay, so like, what kind of information do you want me to give you so that you can answer those questions yourself, or could you provide me with answers to those questions that you've just created? So AI can do all of that already, and because of the huge context window right now, you can feed it. You can calibrate the tool. All right. So the next step is reverse sale. No. Um, I can see that I'm starting to slow down. I had a killer headache, but suddenly, I don't know. I think it's hard to know what causes headaches. And even though I've been working at this now for like an hour, hour and a half, uh, the headache seems to have been, it's just like a mild headache. It was actually worse before. And my dog's not happy. He wants to be outside. And I haven't done my video because I'm learning French and back in the key. Huh. I don't really care myself, so we'll just put this back in here. Had a little chat with the architect. I gotta go. So the only thing else that I want to do is I would prefer. Yeah, I got 3 minutes before the meeting starts. All right, so I assume it means that I need to project continuation state and next steps. I guess that is in current step calibration. Project continuation next steps. Select all. Paste. Done. There you go. I can shut down. So we'll catch you next time.